And if not them, I'm hoping Garbrandt can make a run back because I think Garbrandt would be a really tough matchup for Merab. He packs a punch. He'll stand his ground. He's hard to take down. He's hard to hold down. If like Garbrandt can get a run back underneath himself again too, I think that'd be an awesome fight to see eventually.
All right, so Cody Garbrandt has yet again taken another loss, this time to Raoni Barcelos at UFC Atlanta, and it's just insane to me how far this guy has fallen since shocking the world against Dominic Cruz at UFC 207. Once the golden child of Team Alpha Male, the bantamweight division, and honestly the UFC as a whole, Cody went from dancing circles around Cruz in what is genuinely one of the greatest title-winning performances of all time to being an unranked fighter losing to unranked 38-year-olds. Don't get me wrong, I think Barcelos is a pretty solid fighter, but the fact that Cody is losing clear unanimous decisions to guys like this speaks volumes to how his career has fallen off a cliff. And the thing is, Cody has nobody to blame but himself and the team that he keeps around him. This guy is still the same one-dimensional fighter that he was when he was rising up the ranks, and he hasn't seemed to improve in any aspect of his game since like 2016. His fight IQ, his chin, and the depth of his skills are below par when it comes to the current landscape of the bantamweight roster, to the point where I can't help but wonder if this is the greatest career fall-off in UFC history. And yeah, in this video, I'm going to be talking about all this and more. But first, as always, let's talk about the fight. I scored this one 29-28 in favor of Barcelos, with Cody only winning the first round. Garbrandt started off strong. He looked fast, he was landing clean shots, and he even knocked down Barcelos about a minute into the round. But this is what I mean by his fight IQ is trash. Instead of trying to follow up and do more damage, Cody just showboated and did one of his stupid little dance moves. He let Barcelos get back up to his feet and recover. And maybe he wouldn't have been able to put Barcelos away then and there, but you're just going to hurt him and let him off the hook? He at least could have done some more damage to the point where a 10-8 round is in discussion, which in hindsight would have set him up for a draw as opposed to losing the fight. And I understand that this is what Cody does. He loves to showboat, and that's genuinely a quality that I like about him. But as entertaining as showboating can be under the right circumstances, I feel like fighters should always be substance over style, not the other way around. So in the case here of Garbrandt versus Barcelos, when Cody's showboating is getting in the way of him securing wins, then this just becomes another addition to his ongoing history of poor fight IQ. It's fights like these where I seriously think that Cody belongs on the low fight IQ Hall of Fame next to guys like Michael Chandler, Andre Sukmantot, and Ryan Bader. Regardless, the knockdown was enough to earn Cody the round in my eyes, but his lack of killer instinct came back to haunt him because Barcelos was able to make the necessary adjustments in the next 2 rounds to start taking over. Barcelos started giving Cody less space to move, he was cutting off the ring better than he was in the first, and he started mixing takedowns in more frequently to tire Garbrandt out. And Cody being Cody didn't make any adjustments in order to maintain his lead. He fought the same way that he always does in every single fight because Cody is laughably one-dimensional and he doesn't have many wrinkles to his game. He only knows how to fight one way, and if his opponent is able to get him off of his rhythm, then they start to take over. And with this loss, Cody is now 3-7 since he won the belt back at UFC 207. Speaking of which, let's rewind a bit back to that night, shall we? Sure, Garbrandt was 10-0 heading into the Cruz fight, he was knocking out nearly everybody that he faced, and he was making a lot of noise about dethroning Dominic. Much like most of the world, I thought Cody was decent enough, but I didn't think he stood a chance against Dominic, especially seeing as Cruz was 5-0 against Team Alpha Male at that point. But lo and behold, not only did Cody beat Dominic, he put on a fucking masterclass. He went out there and put on a clinic against one of the most elusive and difficult fighters in UFC history. He had Cruz stumbling and tumbling across the octagon, and he showboated every step of the way. It was nothing short of a career-defining performance, but to be brutally honest, it's probably the only time that he's ever actually fought like a world-class fighter. Because in his very next fight, he got knocked out by TJ Dillashaw, then in the immediate rematch, he got knocked out even more spectacularly after he got slept from eating the same right hook 3 times in a row. And then he fought Pedro Munoz, which I seriously thought was going to be a layup. Even at his best, I always thought Pedro was just okay compared against UFC level competition, but Cody in all of his wisdom decided that the best way to bounce back from 2 knockout losses was to throw technique out the window and swing for the fences like he's a Looney Tunes character. And let's just fast forward through the rest of his career really quickly. He was able to bounce back against Rafael Assunção with one of the best knockouts of the year. He took another 2 losses back-to-back from Rob Font and then Kai Kara France at flyweight, which by the way, this fight made no sense to me seeing as Cody's chin was already made out of graham crackers at bantamweight, so how was it going to fare at flyweight? To Cody's credit, he won his next 2 fights in a row against Trevin Jones and Brian Kelleher, only to lose his 2 most recent fights against Davis and Figueiredo at UFC 300 and to Barcelos this past Saturday. And this brings us to the most infuriating aspect of the Cody Garbrandt experience. There has been 0 evolution in his game. Since beating Cruz, it's like he decided, yeah, this is good enough, and just coasted on that performance for the next decade. His striking is still sharp in theory, but he fights like someone trying to win a game of Rock'em Sock'em become robots. It's been all speed and no substance since he got into the UFC, which makes me wonder, what the hell are his coaches doing? What does a Garbrandt training camp even look like? Is it just 6 weeks of mitt work and Instagram photo shoots? Has nobody thought to teach the man how to set up a takedown or check a kick or maybe tuck his chin in once in a while? His fight IQ has been one of the worst in the division for years now. Garbrandt consistently lets winnable fights slip through his fingers because he either refuses or just does not know how to adjust.
Sean O'Malley kind of famously, ahead of this UFC 316 fight, mentioned that he had stopped smoking weed this year. He obviously lost, but y'all have a little bit of a history of back and forth. With the win this weekend, is that kind of a fight you would still like to get to at some point?
Yeah, he should have kept smoking because he looked like shit. But yeah, whatever he had to do, Sometimes you lose and you're trying to reinvent yourself and find yourself. And at the end of the day, man, like, you know who you are. You know what you got to do. I know I'm, one of the best fighters in the world. So it's like, but when you lose, you got everyone in your ear saying you need to do this and do that. Just remember what got you there and who you are at the end of the day.
Cody's meteoric fall from grace is equal parts sad and frustrating to me because we have all seen what he's capable of. We know that there is an elite fighter buried underneath all that recklessness and half-baked skills, but instead of evolving, Cody has been stuck in a loop of rinse and repeat failures, padded with the occasional first-round knockout win against someone like a Sun Tzu or Kelleher. To be fair, he's not the only fighter to fall off the moment that they reach the top, but here's the difference. None of them ever looked as good as Cody did in that Cruz fight. That is what makes this particular collapse feel so catastrophic. Like, we are talking about a guy who gave us one of the most masterful performances in not just bantamweight but UFC history, and then seemingly forgot how to fight the very next day. And look, I think his move to Extreme Couture was a good decision, but this guy spent way too much time putting his trust in Team Alpha Male. They are up there for the most overrated gym in modern MMA history. Given they had a very brief moment in the early 2010s where they cranked out prospects who could wrestle and throw overhand rights, but the problem is that they never evolved. Everyone else did. ATT evolved, AKA evolved, Longo Serra evolved. Meanwhile, Team Alpha Male is still out here fighting the same exact way they did in 2013. They actually had a very real shot at breaking through as a top-tier gym with Dwayne Ludwig as their head coach, but Uriah Faber fired him because, God forbid, someone comes in with actual technique and hurts Uriah's feelings. I seriously can't for the life of me understand why any aspiring fighter would choose to train at Alpha Male. Their track record just speaks for itself. Cody Garbrandt is their most accomplished fighter. Okay, I guess TJ Dillashaw is technically the best fighter to come out of Alpha Male, but he followed Dwayne Ludwig the moment they got rid of him, then he embarrassed them twice when he knocked out Cody in back-to-back fights. Chad Mendes was great, but not truly championship level. Joe Benavidez was good for his time, I guess. Their best fighter right now is Song Yadong, and sure, I think he's a good fighter and all, but as long as he stays under Faber's thumb, I don't think he's ever going to have a real shot at winning UFC gold. Honestly, just imagine how good Song could have been if he started training with ATT, AKA, or Team Elevation from the start of his career. Team Alpha Male is not a championship camp, it's a lifestyle brand with a cage. It's the kind of place that'll teach you how to throw an overhand right and a blast double, but God forbid you ever need to adapt mid-fight, that is not their thing. And let's be honest, the UFC has not done him any favors either. They keep trying to cash in on his appearance, his backstory, and that Cruz performance, but the reality is Cody Garbrandt hasn't looked like a legitimate contender in a very, very long time. He's now an unranked fighter losing to other unranked fighters, and at this point, you'd have to be delusional to ever think he's going to be a serious player in the bantamweight division again. So where does Cody go from here? If you were asking me, I'd recommend retirement. Given how his career has panned out, I would tell him to read the writing on the wall, but the problem is Cody probably doesn't know how to read. But if history tells us anything, he's likely going to fight again sometime next year, and it's probably going to be another loss. Unless he drastically changes his training, his mindset, and the people he surrounds himself with, there's no reason to expect anything different. He needs a coaching overhaul and a system reset. Someone close to him needs to tell him that speed and power aren't enough anymore. But will he do that? Probably not, because let's face it, if he was going to change, he would have done it after the first TJ loss, or the second, or after Munoz, or after getting smoked at flyweight. Instead, here we are with his performance at UFC Atlanta. Another one-dimensional hollow performance, another loss, and another wasted opportunity. He went from one of the most promising champions in recent memory to a guy whose fights now kind of feel like a really slow funeral, and if you still believe he's got another title run in him, then I admire your optimism, but you might be watching with your heart instead of your eyes. Because the Cody that beat Dominic Cruz was special, but that Cody was only real for one single night, and all we're left with is a fighter who's stuck in the past, swinging wildly, praying for a flash of greatness that just doesn't exist anymore. Anyways, that's the video for today. Definitely let me know your thoughts on Cody Garbrandt's most recent performance. Do you think he has any chance at getting back into title contention, and where do you think he goes from here? As always, if you like the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
You know who's making bangers though? Who might actually make the best videos on MMA YouTube right now is ITP MMA Live. ITP MMA makes fucking bangers, man. Like, I don't think he's had a miss in so long. You said you don't watch MMA YouTube? I rarely do, but ITP, he's made bangers for the last few months. Did you see his video on O'Malley? I didn't watch it, but I saw it and thought that's going to be a banger. But I didn't watch it, but I just knew it would be a banger. I was like, yeah, that's a great topic. But I can't do it because it'd be hypocritical to cheer on O'Malley and then do it. So that's his catch. You know what I'm saying?